You ready for me?
We're ready for
All right.
you. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I am going to bless you with an Irish blessing this morning. So for each petal on the shamrock, this brings a wish your way. Good health, good luck, and happiness for today and every day. Amen.
And our guest, Adam, is going to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Adam. Okay, we're going to go through a few announcements, and then we have a member-to-member spotlight this morning. I know that Bruce intended to make an announcement. I don't see Bruce just yet, so we'll see if he makes it here in a minute. We had some details that were sent out about the holiday party and the first meeting of December. In Claudia's note about today's meeting, just mark your calendars for Thursday, December 2nd. That evening is our holiday party. It's returning after a year off, so we're going to make up for lost time and have a bunch of fun. Because we're going to have so much fun, we are not going to have a meeting the next morning on Friday the 3rd. So mark your calendars for those things, please. The other thing is that we have a board meeting Thursday, November 4th. It's normally the first Wednesday, but somebody's schedule conflicted and we had to move it to Thursday for just this one time at Jackman Farms. Everybody's welcome to join those. They are a blast. They are so much fun. So if anybody wants to join that, we have dinner at 5:30. The meeting will run from 5:45 to 6:50. And do we have any other announcements? Wow, we got a bunch. Okay, Ingrid.
Hi, I've got the 125 pins for those of you who didn't make it last week in person. Please let me know. Go.
I actually have
Oh, yeah.
If anybody missed that, Ingrid has 125 club pins. For anybody that hasn't received theirs yet, that was part of the 125, you can get those from Ingrid. Claudia has to come up here. She wants to make an announcement.
Actually not an announcement, it's a plead for understanding. Going forward, we want to keep hybrid meetings going, which means we have Zoom. We have a very dedicated IT group who's working real hard to get this going. But I know that some of the people on Zoom sometimes can't hear us or can't see us or can't feel the experience. Be patient. If you want to feel the experience, you're going to have to come here. If you want to stay on Zoom, please. Technology isn't perfect. We're not going to build an entire IT department to make this happen. We just want to stay in touch with everybody. So that's all I'm asking for is some patience. And if you do know an IT expert who would like to join Rotary, please bring them on over. That's it.
Thank you for that public service announcement, Claudia. The good news is our presenter today is not using PowerPoint. So he's already my favorite presenter so far. Wait, come on up. You have to come on up. So
I want to get fine. I know most of you are not eligible for Medicare, so don't pay any attention to this if you're younger than 65. Well, I know you are. But anyway, if you are eligible for Medicare, don't call Joe, call me. Here's my $5 fine.
okay, that was a blatant solicitation. So thank you for that. I saw another hand. Did I see Ramona's hand?
I don't have an announcement.
Okay, but you had something to say.
I raised my hand to get my 125.
Okay. Any other announcements?
Mike?
Yes, sir. There he is. There's Bruce. Hi, Bruce.
Good morning. Just wanted to announce to the club that we have our opportunity for the Red Kettle Bell ringing this year, starting the first Saturday in December. And for the next 3 weekends, all Saturdays, the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th, we're going to do our best to staff both kettles at both Kroger locations, like we've been doing for over 25 years. Last year, COVID, sort of a modified kettleness and such, slammed Salvation Army. They were overwhelmed with requests for help and way short of funds. So anything our club can do this year to help the kettle collections would be greatly appreciated. You'll be seeing shortly a all-member email coming out with the sign-up capability online, like we've been trying to phase in for the last several years. So please look for that. Shifts start at 8 o'clock, 2-hour shifts, ending at 6 o'clock. Try hard to focus on the first weekend, please. If at all possible, let's fill the 4th up. Then let's look at the other couple weekends. We're still waiting to hear from our interactors to see if they're going to be able to participate and help us this year. Stay tuned for more information on that. So Red Kettle Bell ringing back on. And as Claudia said, if you want to feel the experience, you got to show up and ring the bell. Thank you.
Bruce, will there be any recertification training required this year?
Stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. We take that very seriously. All right, I am very pleased that we have a member-to-member spotlight. I will say again that I haven't signed up. Just dig through your emails, search on Ramona. You'll see several emails about signing up for member-to-member. I think we're a little light as we've got the holidays approaching, but we're going to make a big push to get that schedule filled up. But I'm welcoming Ron Morgan and Jim Warburton today.
Can you stand here?
You can see him right there in the opposite side of your head. Yes.
Well, it is definitely my pleasure to introduce Jim. He and I have been really close since we've been in the Rotary here. Jim grew up in Shaker Heights and was born in 1940, so you can do the math. Graduated from Shaker Heights High School. He went to college at the Ohio University, the BBA in accounting. I knew we'd get some claps on that. He married Gail. They're now celebrating their 59th anniversary in August. Gail was a nurse, taught nursing at Riverside earlier in her career, and stayed home with the kids, and later worked at various nursing homes to help the kids through college. He had 3 children. Unfortunately, the oldest son died of cancer at the age of 11. Doug is a Lutheran minister in Montana. He was a member of this club for a number of years. Daughter Laura is a CPA tax director with Deloitte & Touche. They both graduated from Oak. He has 2 grandkids and 2 step-grandkids. Doug's 2 boys went to Kaufman, are now attending tolls. He worked mostly in public accounting and was a managing partner of Green and Waller, which was a firm of 40 employees. He's got a lot of hobbies: woodworking, golf, handball, skiing, reading fiction. And he's currently reading A Gambling Man by Baldacci. Is that Baldacci?
I don't know.
Usually if there's 2 C's, it's got a different pronunciation. Jim said he's become so old that he can occasionally shoot his age. Travel for a number of years, was camping, took 2 trips west, 1 east and 1 to Florida. His current goal, all 50 states, there's only 2 left, Oklahoma and Arkansas. Currently make trips to Hilton Head twice a year. Gail has been on many trips to Europe, and her favorites were Israel, Ireland, and the Greek islands. Jim was a 20-year member of the downtown Rotary and 16 years in this Rotary. So. Jim was an accomplished trumpeter for 3 years. That time he had gotten to the point where they could stand to listen to him playing, so guess what? He quit. Favorite singing groups are the Beach Boys, John Denver, and the Kingston Cheerleaders. One thing that could make him have a better day is to only hear good news over the air and on social media.
Okay, for Ron, I first have a question. You football enthusiasts, does anyone know who the Fighting Blue Hens, what college they are? So Ron grew up in Newark, Delaware, and then he went to school. He attended the University of Delaware and received a Bachelor of Science in Statistics, Computer Science in '68. Back then, the only entry into a computer was on punch cards. So he even remembers that. He then went to Kansas State University for an MS in computer science. Later, he earned an MBA from the University of Chicago. Ron is married to Janice for 42 years, has 2 children. Chris, who is a neurologist in Grand Rapids, Michigan, has 2 sons, 8 and 6. Michelle lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is married, is a family practice physician and a member of the Waukesha Rotary Island or Wisconsin Rotary. Ron has been a member of our Rotary for 18 years. His wife Janice has a music degree from DePaul University. She went to school with a couple members of the group Chicago and was a professional singer in the Chicago area for about 10 years. She later got an MBA from DePaul, and they met when she was working in sales for a computer time-sharing company. Maybe if we're lucky, we can get her to sing at the next Christmas party.
She did that once.
Did she?
Yeah, when we were up in Carter Field, she said, never again. Good luck.
Oh, maybe some member of this club could actually get that accomplished. Ron has had a 55-year career, mostly in information technology field with a couple jobs in marketing, consulting and business development. He came to Dublin in 1995 from Chicago to work for Cardinal Health as a VP of information systems in their pharmaceutical distribution business. His last 11 years were with Franklin University in Columbus as program chair, MIS, CIO, and the Dean of Academic Technology. However, during his career, Ron has worked for 15 companies, had 29 different job titles, and worked for 40 different bosses. I think he developed a very sophisticated computer program just to keep track of all this. Is that right?
It's called Excel, so yeah.
Since retiring, Ron has been an active volunteer for Columbus chapter of SCORE. Since SCORE is a organization that helps small businesses get up and running. As kind of a hobby, Ron has studied a practice called Chinese medical Qigong. He told me that yesterday, but I still can't remember. He has practiced this for over 20 years and earned a certification to teach this form, and has a certification as a Qigong therapist. As part of his training, Ron became a minister and is registered with the state of Ohio to perform marriages. So he's really competing with Steve here. Right? If you want to know more about Qigong, I'm sure he'll take a couple hours and talk to you about it. Could you do it in 2 hours?
Yeah.
He gave me this as a fun fact. During his time at the University of Delaware, Ron completed 4 years of training in ROTC program and earned a 2nd lieutenant commission in the Signal Corps of the U.S. Army. However, during the physical examination for basic training, the examining physician told him, "You are unfit for combat due to an old football dislocation in his left shoulder." And therefore was classified as 4F, and he was unable to serve active duty. Way back then, he did weigh 300 pounds when he was a football player.
I'm getting back there. but COVID has helped in that.
He's got two favorite quotes. "Never judge a person until you walked read my writing. In my shoes. Sorry about that. And the other one is, "Contact is worth 80 IQ points." I wish I knew that when I went to college. So now hopefully you know a little bit more about Ron Morton.
Thank you guys so much, and please welcome our sergeant today, Jim Van Deen.
Yeah, we're always supposed to say thank you for that. Good morning, everybody. We're kind of a light crowd today. I think it's the weather. For fines today, start out with the usual. If you don't have your name or your PIN, that'll be $1. The other thing is, since last night was trick or treat for most people, I'm curious how many people didn't have any trick or treaters at all. If you didn't have trick or treaters, make another donation. Thank you. Guest today, Assis is here. I believe this is maybe your third time here. Terrific, thank you. We hope you keep coming back. I'd like to see you as a member. Other than that, I think we'll go ahead, since we have everything, we'll probably just go ahead and draw for the large pot is $407 and the small pot is $20. And we'll give you the option of which one you want.
Okay, this one ends in 9331. 9331.
You want a shot at the large one, or do you want the $20 small pot?
Take the small pot to be donated.
Great, thank you.
This one ends in 9317. Nine three one seven. Did you check your ticket? Check your.
Try again.
9280.
Here. Whoa. Okay. We're looking for the 10 of clubs.
Thank you, Jim. And now I'm going to bring up Kurt Brown, who's going to introduce our speaker.
Good morning. Today we're fortunate to have Adam Carr from Save a Warrior join us. Save a Warrior is the original warrior-led timeless journey for active duty military, returning veterans, and first responders who feel desperately alone. Adam has over 12 years of service in the U.S. Army. There he served as a Special Forces Green Beret. He hunted down Al-Qaeda operatives, developed intelligence networks, conducted diplomatic relations, and briefed ambassadors and generals on geopolitical environments. He has a bachelor's degree from Ohio State, along with graduate degrees from Ohio State and Stanford. In his deployment, he spent 8 years in Asia, the Philippines, and Afghanistan. Adam's passion comes from a deep-rooted desire to serve and save others. Adam has been profoundly affected by the loss of teammates, mentors, and close friends to suicide. He currently speaks to students, corporations, and a wide variety of audiences all over the country. He has over 20 years of leadership and managerial experience and is a business coach for MBA students at The Ohio State University. So without further ado, Adam Carr.
Good morning. I was told to come out to speak this morning that you guys all pitched in and got me a membership at Muirfield, so I really appreciate that. Thank you, Kurt. That was a nice surprise this morning. I know it's a pretty penny. What that bio doesn't tell you, that's a great bio, right? It's bitchin'. Kurt, I sent Kurt one that was probably like a page long of just all these cool accolades that I've done. None of it matters. That bio doesn't tell you about the 10-year-old boy that's sitting next to a bed of a family member that was handcuffed because they tried to kill himself twice and went to a book fair the next day in 1993. And instead of buying a Marvel comic book like the rest of my friends in my class, I bought a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's a 10-year-old buying that book at a book fair with a few dollars I had saved. And then I've spent nearly the next 30 years trying to figure out why that person that was so close to me wanted to take their life. That bio doesn't tell you about the man that got blown up by an Al-Qaeda operative that we had to carry 4,000 feet down a mountain. Doesn't tell you about some of my teammates. You heard Kurt mention that I was a Green Beret in the Army. All that means is in 1961, John F. Kennedy bestowed a Green Beret to Special Forces in the Army, and there was a split. And anybody knows anything about history, about the OSS and coming out of World War II? The OSS was split into two factions. The civilian entity became the CIA, the military entity became Special Forces and the Green Berets. So our job is to be sent into countries like the Jedburghs were the era before them, in the Devil's Brigade, to basically build armies, meet and align with tribal leaders, doctors, those businessmen that have influence on the communities, and ensure that the main military that comes in the divisions are set up for success, right? But we operated on a very small team, an ODA, much like the size of some of these tables, all the way out to maybe a 12-man team tops, who were deployed with 10 months out of every year. So I have a family, I have a wife, I have a son who's 13, another son who's 10, and a daughter who's 6. But the family that I had away from my family 10 months out of the year was my ODA. One of those guys on the ODA, what that bio doesn't tell you about, my best friend, Jeremy Porter, took an AK-47 round in his neck on September 1st, 2012. Like, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do as a man is go into his childhood bedroom, which his mother kept all the trophies in display of. She was so proud of him. He played college football. He was getting ready to get out 2 weeks after that deployment. We were coming up to the end of it, 2 weeks left, AK round on a direct action mission. To stand there in his bedroom with his mother and hold it together, you want to talk about a challenge. Way tougher than any door I've ever had to kick in or plane I've ever had to jump out of. I'll tell you that, just to try to be strong for that. Doesn't tell you about another one of my teammates, because we live in a society here in the West where it's all about looking good, no matter what. Let's just go out and look in the parking lot. Last night I'm trick-or-treating in my neighborhood. People that park their cars in their garage all the time had their cars out in the driveway. They're in the rain. They're Porsches, they're Ferraris, they're Lambos. Saw a Bugatti, saw a Bentley. This is Dublin, right? This is reality. This is the neighborhood that we're in right now. We are at Muirfield, a PGA course, right? All about looking good. That's what our culture is about. Well, my teammate, he had earned the Special Forces tab like the rest of us. That's largely about looking good. Rule number 1 in Special Forces, even if you don't know what you're doing, make sure you look good, right? Make sure you at least look like you know what you're doing. That's why you see all the operators got all the cool guy gear and stuff, but these guys are the best trained guys in the world. So his best thinking, he was going to get in trouble. They were going to pull his Special Forces tab and just send him off to the needs of the Army. His best thinking was to go get a hotel room and kill himself instead of calling us. So now 2 of my family members gone. My commander, I was in a joint Navy SEAL. They don't ring bells. Bells are a bad thing for the SEALs, yeah? You guys know about Hell Week and Buds? You ring a bell, you're out. It means I'm going home. I can't take this anymore. But I'm in a joint Navy SEAL Green Beret SOTA, Special Operations Task Force. We like our acronyms in the military. And our commander, head of the whole unit, the whole operation, 2 days before Christmas, I was just drinking chai tea with him, with some village elders, because I lived out in the mud hut, 200 kilometers away from any safe haven, any base, lived with the indigenous folks in Afghanistan. This man put a pistol in his mouth and started the pistol. He was a commander who was part of DevGru at one point in his career, the team that got Osama bin Laden, also known as SEAL Team 6, killed himself. Best friend of mine that I first met when I joined the military in 2002, right after 9/11, killed himself on my birthday. And I could go on and on and on talking about how this has made a major, major impact on me. So I can remember being on the teams and thinking, man, we got to do something. Those of you that aren't familiar with the narrative in the military space, there's about 22 veterans that kill themselves every single day. Every single day. We'll lose between first responders and veterans, and a lot of veterans go to serve as our police officers, fire, paramedics. We'll lose about 2 during this Rotary session this morning that are just, it's their time. They're having a dark morning or a dark evening wherever they're at in the world, and they're completely sideways, and their best thinking right now at this moment is to take their life. And for some of us that have been able to have the coping mechanisms, maybe we had a great childhood, maybe we haven't experienced trauma, maybe just everything's right in our mind, that thought has never crossed our mind. And so some of us can't understand it. But there are people, whether it's in professional sports and corporations or doctors or spokesperson around the country that are now saying, hey, let's break this mental stigma going on. And those of us that have kids, especially young ones right now, this is something to really pay attention to. Because in Ohio, the #1 cause of death for a 10 to a 14-year-old right now is suicide. That should terrify this room. I don't know what age your children are. That should terrify it. Because I get calls from parents all the time in this community. I get calls from US senators. I get calls from former politicians. I get calls from CEOs of major companies calling me and saying, hey, my kid wants to kill themselves. They're 14. What do I do? I don't know what to do because the drugs aren't working. Why does our program work? You see a pamphlet on there. I know I have limited time. I'm used to being able to speak an hour. I can speak up to 6 hours at a lecture at a university. I won't do that. I didn't want to kill you with PowerPoint this morning. I appreciate everyone that's tuned in. I appreciate you for inviting me, Kurt. I really do, because this is an opportunity right now. And I didn't come here to ask you to empty out your pockets. I didn't. But I know there's a lot of influence in this room. So I'm hoping what I share with you this morning will touch, move, and inspire this room enough to say, hey, you know what? That's something I could get behind. Those guys are actually making a difference, like a real difference. I get it. There's a lot of nonprofits. We donate to things. There's a lot of ones that have a B next to their financial statement, meaning they're in the billions, right? The big ones that we've all heard of, whether it's in the veteran space or whether it's in the homeless space or it's a donation space for whatever, toys, you name it. They're in the billions. What does that mean? They have a CEO that's probably making millions for a nonprofit, right? They have forever money. It's sitting in a trust somewhere. So when we give to organizations that have forever money, that realized impact, it really isn't there. Like, that's just reality. I realized that as I dug into numbers and I dug into financial statements behind nonprofits I was supporting, that my wife and I were getting behind. And we give to this cause. We also give to a charity that gives to childhood cancer. That's something that touches us. My wife lost somebody that was really special to her that had cancer. That's tough. That's not fair. That a child should have to die that early. It's not fair. Sometimes life's not fair. This program works, Save a Warrior, that was founded in 2012 in Malibu, one of the richest enclaves in the United States. It wouldn't fledge in Malibu, it fledged here in Ohio. Interesting, right? Didn't fledge in Malibu, where I can see Streisand's house, it's worth about 56 million, and I see Oprah's house. Oh yeah, and there's Tom Cruise's house, didn't fledge there. As we walked around, and I have no illusion about who I am in the nonprofit space. I'm a beggar, but I'm a professional beggar, and I'm a $20 million beggar. That's why I can sit here with tennis shoes on in front of you, not Gucci shoes, not an Armani suit, here at this country club, in tennis shoes, and have a real conversation, because we tell the truth here. Very, very authentically, sometimes very uncomfortably. And a lot of times when people read a great bio on me, I'll hop off the stage, and the first thing I do with the microphone is walk up to somebody that's really polished and say, hey, that bio doesn't tell you that I was addicted to pornography for 20 years of my life. And it took time from my life. And I'll just keep going and going and going about personal things about myself that are real. Because like that's the human experience. It's not all the polish and the mask and everything else we wear. It's like real conversations. If you don't have them, you end up an old person filled with regret. Because the things won't fill us. We know that. We know these Ferraris aren't going to fill us. The next vacation to Cabo is not going to fill us. The country club membership. It's like the richness of our relationships that actually fill us in life. David Brooks, New York Times bestselling author, wrote a book called The Second Mountain, which talks about this. Some of us in an unlucky stance get to a point where we have to realize this because we've lost our spouse, we've lost a child, and it's like, holy crap. All of the things I thought mattered, none of that actually matters. Let me go over here. Because the real thing about life, like the real impact in life is like how we serve other people. That's it. Like that's the only thing we can really take with us as like the last breaths go out. And I say this as a man at 38 years old who's had to bury his father. And I have a lot of friends. Most of my friends are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. I have a really close friend who's 96. And I go and speak to him because that's where the wisdom's at. The wisdom isn't in my generation. It's certainly not in Gen Z, right? Those guys don't know anything. Nothing. It's not even in mine. And what I know about the brain is, and I'm going to get into our program here in a second, we do a lot of things neurobiologically with the brain. I teach meditation. I've taught it to a couple 100,000 people in 46 different countries. Here's what we know about the brain and trauma. First thing, we know the last part of our brain to come online is human beings. And we know this science, we know this with fMRI imaging of our brain scans, is the prefrontal cortex. Last thing, executive decision-making allows us to say, oh, maybe I should buy that Bitcoin at $1,000. Man, don't all of us wish we did that. At 1,000, I'd love it. It was at 62, I think, this morning. That's the executive decision making. It comes online for all of us as human beings, no discrimination at about 25. Now, this is the decision making that should be responsible for deciding what we're going to do with our career at 25, who we're going to marry, and major financial decisions like buying a house, all of the things that come with being a young adult, 25. And we can join the military and first responders at 18. We can't drink yet, but we can go die for this country at 18. Interesting, right? That part of our brain, that prefrontal cortex, when trauma occurs for a human being in that part of the brain, it's known as a term that's been coined by a famous author named Carr, Yale grad, Rhodes Scholar, Vietnam veteran who came back and said, hey, we need a war detox. We need something to help our veterans integrate successfully back into society. It's coined as moral injury. Something that should have happened that did not, something that did happen that should not have happened. And it occurs in this part of the brain. Now at Save a Warrior, what has allowed us to make a really powerful distinction, way different than any other nonprofit in this country. Because we have $200 billion a year organizations dedicated to helping our veterans, and their solution, for the most part, is Prozac. Now that drug, the main side effect of that drug, one of the top ones, is may cause suicidal thoughts. Okay? Main side effect. Also, the SSRIs aren't meant to be taken for longer than a 3-month stance anyway. It's not meant to be a lifelong pill. We call that a spiritual bypass in our program. This program is something where we've really been looking around this country, and we've spoken at Harvard Medical School and won an award for the most innovative idea in this country for solving the suicide crisis. Why does this matter beyond veterans and first responders? Because all human beings have trauma. If we live to be old enough, we're lucky to be old enough, we all have to bury our parents. We all have to bury those that we love around us. That in itself is trauma. That's tough. That's grief. And those of us that are incomplete with people, it's really, really tough. We didn't get to say what we needed to say before they died. That's a little tough pill to swallow because we carry that. So like the movie Moneyball, who here has seen Moneyball? Anybody? Perfect. I'm talking to a great crowd. Yeah, it's really the story of King Arthur and Merlin. I don't know if you knew that, the overlay of it mythologically. That's what they brought as an arc, as a hero's journey into that story. But what were they looking at? The Oakland Athletics, right? There was a team that had a salary about here. They were trying to compete with teams up here, like the New York Yankees, right? How in the heck are the Oakland Athletics, nearly at that point in time, the joke of MLB, going to compete with the Yankees and the Red Sox and some of these other teams? They had to look in a different place that most people were not looking. And those of you that have seen that film, you remember the scene with the scouts. It's all a bunch of scouts. And oh, if you listen to the bat, when he cracks the bat, it sounds great. This guy's girlfriend's hot. And when he walks into the room, you know, and there's a lot of vulgar stuff in that situation that I won't go into. But they're basically, it's all nonsense. It's just business as usual. This is how we've always done things. So this is how we'll always continue to do things. Right? This is what everyone was joking about in 98, 99 about the internet. This is what everybody's joking about now about crypto and about the metaverse that's coming. Like, it's coming. Zuckerberg just named Facebook Meta. It's going to change. Like Ready Player One 10 years from now is like a reality. It's coming. The Oculus, having actual meetings of our Gen Z will be having meetings in this virtual world, whether we want to fight it or not. Well, what did they do in baseball though? They looked at the analytics and looked at the on-base percentage. And they said, let's build a team only on that. I don't care what they look like. I don't care how the ball sounds when they hit it. All I care is that they get on base. And then they went on the greatest win streak in Major League Baseball history. And that coach, Bill Levine, the GM of the team, who's now an owner, was offered at the time the highest salary of any GM in baseball, and he turned it down. And then the Red Sox took his formula and won the World Series, right? Broke the curse. Yeah. So at Save a Warrior, we've looked at something no one else is looking at. We asked the question, why does somebody join the military in the first place? Why would somebody decide that I want to go kick indoors and I want to go drive down IED laden roads? It has to be something more than just, I saw a patriotic poster and like, I want to go do that, right? What boy in his right mind? We have John and we have Mike. And John and Mike both play Call of Duty, the video game on PlayStation or Xbox. And they're shooting and killing guys. But John decides, you know what? I think I'm going to go be in finance and make a bunch of money and join a golf club, right? And most people decide a route like that. I'm going to go be a doctor. I'm going to go be in insurance, whatever. But Mike decides, hey, I think I actually want to do what's going on in that poster. What we figured out is the main distinction, the main differentiator for those people are the traumatic experiences they've had in their childhood. And we have big data on this. We have a sample size of this, a significant sample size. The distinction we made using the CDC survey, adverse childhood experiences, 10-part questionnaire at any point during prior to your 18th birthday, did somebody try to commit suicide in your family? Was there an alcoholic in your family? Did somebody use street drugs? Were you molested? The higher that score climbs, the higher the correlation that they will try to kill themselves at some point. The average civilian population has a score of about 1 to 3. So maybe they had an alcoholic father or mother in the family, maybe somebody was mentally ill, you name it. The average population we're seeing at Save a Warrior is a 6. So they've had 6 yeses on this 10-part questionnaire. It's the same questionnaire every time. 6 yeses before they even joined the military. Oh yeah, and then saw their friends splattered in front. And then had to make the decision as a father, ooh, that kid's digging an IED in the road. I need to pull the trigger and kill a child, right? That's a tough thing to live with. Or run someone over. And I got to wake up the next morning and do something like that again. Now, when you get to a 4, this is big data. Kaiser Permanente ran a study in the 90s. Sample size about 17,000. Now we have a sample size in the millions. This is 2021. When you get to a 4, you're a 10-fold increase of attempting suicide at some point in your life. This is like overall population, not just veterans, 10-fold. When you get to a 6, it's 50-fold, 5,000% increase of attempting suicide. 700% increase of becoming an alcoholic or drug user. I used to be one of those judgy people that was like, oh, they should just know better. We have unlimited resources. We have phones. We have libraries. People should just get their act together and they should know better. That's ignorant. I know that because I talk to wisdom all the time, including the 96-year-old man who's down the road at Friendship Village, who we named our National Center of Excellence in Villageville that we're building right now. So we look at that place and we process the childhood trauma in a way very novel, like the business cards on the table. A novelty, you know, this is why we DVR Buckeye games or Notre Dame or whatever team we root for, our NFL team. We DVR because we don't know the outcome. This is why we like to gamble, because we don't know what the outcome is. There's some endorphins that get created hormonally when we approach a situation with novelty. It allows a situation that otherwise seems stuck become unstuck. So we're a warrior-led organization. That says a week. We've actually trimmed this thing down to 72 hours. In 72 hours, we take groups of 8 to 10 people that come to us like this. I've tried inpatient, I've tried pills, I've been in therapy for 10 years, you name it. From the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, SEAL Team 6, Green Berets, Army Rangers, the Kyle family, if you're familiar with American Sniper, LAPD, FDNY firefighters who lost 300 people like this. If there's an organization in this country that is operating at the tip of the spear to protect and serve us, they're sending their people to us. So they're coming to us like this. And in 72 hours, we have just enough of a conversation, a salon style conversation with these individuals, because we're warrior led, myself and the rest of our integrators on the team, to take that despair that's inside of their heart, because the problems aren't up here. The trauma is actually in our body. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, Harvard psychiatrist, right? Wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score, a New York Times bestseller, which talks about the trauma being in the body, the blood cells, the bones, the tissues, the organs. That's where the trauma lies. That's where the inflammation happens. This is where the cancer starts and all these other problems that we have. We have the science on it. This isn't fringe stuff anymore. We teach people a very powerful meditative technique. Meditation is just breathing. It's not some weird thing. You can meditate, pray. It's not going to go against religion. We are secular, but God does show up. We've had Satanists come to our program, covered in pentagrams and you name it. 2 hours after the program ends, calling me, weeping. I've decided to devote my life to God. I don't want to be a Satanist anymore. I didn't have to say one thing about God. All I had to say is, hey, if you don't have any faith, you can borrow a little bit of mine. Just for this 72-hour experience. We pull from about 12 different disciplines. Mythology, we go back to a tribal level. This is something that's missing in our culture. It's a big missing with men in our culture. This is why there's still domestic violence. This is why in certain inner city neighborhoods, there's no fathers left. The big missing and men getting initiated out of childhood psychology into adult philosophy. Which if you look at philosophy, just love of wisdom, adult philosophy. And I'll ask crowds, I go places, and I'm gonna wrap this up. I go places and I say, hey, what's the difference between a boy and a man? And a lot of the women want to jump on the mic and they give a funny joke, biologically or something like that. The difference between a boy and man, we have distilled down to this one sentence. Here's the difference. Men do shit they don't want to do because it's the right thing to do. Period. Period. A boy will do what he wants to do. That's it. Instead of going home to handle responsibilities with his family that maybe isn't in the greatest shape, he'll stop off at the bar and get a couple drinks. He'll have a side piece, and it's pretty easy to find somebody with one of these things nowadays. He'll go watch porn and get upset in his head as he ruminates why his relationship's not working and why his wife's not doing certain things, or his spouse or his girlfriend, you name it. A boy will go off and play video games instead of tending to the duties of his family, or games or whatever, because boys like to play games. Men do stuff they don't want to do because it's the right thing to do, period. That's a hard conversation to have because we have a valued participant program where we've allowed movie producers, actors, which I will not name because we keep protecting anonymity, Fortune 500 CEOs, prominent attorneys, prominent doctors to come sit in our seat. We hold up a mirror in front of their face for that 72 hours. They don't like it, but by the end of it, Niagara Falls and their whole trajectory of their life has changed in the most powerful way. So our program, 72 hours, meditation, think of it literally as a mirror to the soul, mythologically, neurobiologically, linguistically, psychologically, depth psychologically, to get somebody to have hope in their heart and change their life forever. And we've served over 1,600 people to date, 1,600 lives. When one person kills himself, it affects about 135. You go out on the layers of the initial family, the first responders, colleagues, you name it. Our program is Save a Warrior. We're a nonprofit. It's free for any veteran or first responder to come. The pamphlet's right there, my card's right there. If you have any interest in connecting somebody, somebody, it's like, hey, I'm looking to give. There's 46,000 veteran nonprofits. Most of them are brokers. They take your money, they raise awareness, and then they just re-grant it somewhere else. Our money goes directly towards serving our participant. Our ratio is above an 80-20. We have a platinum rating on the Charity Navigator and GuideStar, and have again been vetted by the VA, by Harvard, by you name it. If they're out there, they've vetted us. Columbus Foundation right here vetted us, and we have some pretty big players that give to our organization, but we still need your help. I shouldn't have to be out here begging for this, almost 10 years into doing this. And our hope is to make Save a Warrior a forever organization. So I really appreciate this morning. I know I've gone over a little bit, but this is a really important message. I hope this sits heavy on some of your hearts. This is meant to be uplifting because there's a program actually out there solving this problem. We've only had 4 suicides out of 1,600 people that have come to us like this. And you heard me say the statistics, 4. That's a miracle. Miracle. If you guys have any questions for me, I'll be around to stick around. I also have, and do we have 5 minutes or no?
We don't.
We don't have 5 minutes. I'll be just over here in the corner. So stay around. Come ask me any questions if you have it again. Thank you so much. Godspeed to everybody here today.
Adam, thank you so much for all the work you do. Our quote for today is from Abraham Lincoln, which you can see because I lost my page somewhere. Honor to the soldier and sailor everywhere who bravely bears his country's cause. Honor also to the citizen who cares for his brother in the field and serves as he best can the same cause. Thank you for serving and everything you're doing. Thank you. Happy Halloween. Go Bucks. See you next week. Yeah.